Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and this is part 6 of my quest system tutorial. We will continue to create or actually make use of everything in the user interface manager, and yeah, we continue to create all the scripts inside of that. So what we left off is with that small fix that our quest button text couldn't get applied, and we fixed that in the last video, in the very last minutes. So what we have is we can fill in all the quest buttons at that particular moment, and we can also hide that panel in here. So, and since it's public, we could also go in and use anything, any button and so on and so forth, and hide the panel on button press, or when we are accepting a quest, or when we are completing a quest, or when we're just closing that. Okay, and the same stuff can be later on applied to the quest log panel, where we basically do the same, but that's not what we're going over right now. But we want to make sure that when we are pressing on one of those created buttons, we want to show the quest info depending on what we are pressed or what we have pressed on. And that's what we are going to take care of at the first. So under filling that buttons, we make a new command, or I do one, and this is going to be so a button, no, quest. So quest on button press in quest panel. So what we need is, at first, it needs to be a public function of type void, since we don't return anything. And I call this one show selected quest. And what we need to pass over is the ID of the quest. So it's of type int quest ID. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to go through to all available quests we currently have, and we need to read the data, or basically compare all the data with the quest ID we get passed in directly from the button when we are clicking on it, because the button already holds any quest ID, and when we're pressing on that particular button, we pass back that ID and call this function here, the show selected quest, I believe. And what we need to do in here is we need to fill in, or basically at first read the data from the quest manager or from the currently already set or stored quest, and then take that data and bring that and make that visible basically in our quest log, in our quest panel. So what we need to do is at first we iterate through all available quests we have, get every info and show that info. So again, we iterate through. So we begin with another int I is going to be equal to 0. So while I is smaller than available quests dot count, so our list which is holding all our data, and we increment I. So, and what we want to do is we want to ask if the available quests in square brackets I is going to be the same, ID is going to be the same. So if it's equal to our quest ID we were just passing over, then we want to set the quest title text to be the available quest I dot title. So the quest title, which is the text element, quest title dot text, I'm sorry, is going to be equal to available quests in square brackets I dot title. So we set this one, then we can see, okay, when we're clicking on that, we get, or we can read the title directly in here where our name is currently in. So, but we also need to make sure that we check if the quest progress, or what the quest progress is, and depending on the quest progress, we need to change the quest description and all the other things. So only then, when we know the correct quest description or the quest progress, then we can get a hint or the description, which is this basic description. So what we do is we say if available quest in square brackets I dot progress is going to be equal to quest dot quest progress dot available. So when it's available, then we want to have the complete quest description. So the quest description dot text is going to be equal to the available quest in square brackets I dot, and then we have the description inside. So again, when we have an available quest, we want to show the description. If we have an accepted quest, we want to show the hint, for example. And that's why we are going to do that. And of course, we want to set the quest summary dot text is going to be equal to. This is some way you can do whatever you want. The first thing is you can create your own quest summary, but I do the quest summary a bit different in here. It will be a long string basically of different infos which are directly in available quests. So what we can take is, for example, the quest objective, which is whatever the tag or the string name is. What we need to do, like leave a town or go or goblin or hunt goblin or whatever, and or just goblin. And you can also be as creative as you like. So what I do is I take available quests in square brackets I dot no, it's quest objective, I believe. Yep. So the quest objective is of type string, like, do whatever. What I want to add also is, so I say plus, then I add a colon in here. Oops. So, then I add another plus, and then I want to have available quest in square brackets I dot. And in this case, I want the quest objective count. Quest objective count. So what is the current count we have? Plus, then I want to have a slash. You can also use a pipe or whatever you want. And then again plus. And again available. No, not avatar. Available quests in square brackets. Again, I dot quest objective requirement, something like kill 20, and this is the maximum amount we need to hunt, for example. Or we need to leave the town one time and it will count automatically and will show us our current quest, whatever the current progress is and what the current quest is giving us. Okay, so we need to do the same for the active quests. So this is for our available quests. We need to do the same for the active quests. In the same, we can use the same function since, the quests are rather different, of course. So we can compare or actually combine all that infos directly in here. Because everything will use the same. So again, we go through everything once again. We can again use I in here since our for loop is closed over there. So we can use int I again to count up all that things. Or you can use another letter or anything you want. So if I is smaller than active quests dot count. And while is that smaller than I, then we want to increment I, of course. Again, we open a pair of brackets, open, close. And what we want to ask for is, instead of if available quest ID is quest ID, we want to call request if active quest i.id is going to be quest ID, which is still passed over in here. Then we want to react to that. And what we want to do is we want to say again the quest title is going to be of type or of the one which is in the active quests. So I can copy this line over in here, copy, paste, but instead of available quest we say active quest i.title, which is basically the same. And now we need to ask again if what the progress is. So if the quest, if active quest in square brackets I dot progress is going to be the same as the quest or quest progress dot I believe it's accepted. Yes. So if it is accepted, then we want to show everything different rather than if it is completed, for example. So since it's an active quest, it can only be accepted or completed. And in here we want to say the quest description is going to be equal, or quest description.text, sorry, is going to be equal to the active quests in square brackets I dot description. So we show the usual description. No, wait, that's wrong. We don't want the description here. We want to have the hint in here because it's accepted already, but we don't know what we want to do. Then we want to see, okay, the hint is going to be, yeah, leave the tone and could do whatever, or just go out and come in back and talk to me. And the quest summary, of course, is going to be the same. Dot text is going to be equal to and now it's active quests in square brackets I, and in here we have a dot quest objective, and again plus, then a colon in string plus. We do all the stuff in here once again, no? So we say active quests in square brackets I dot quest objective count. Plus, then we want to add again a slash with some spaces, another plus, and we say active quests in square brackets I dot, and in here we can pass over the quest request, the quest object requirement, of course, not request, and that's it. And what we also want to do is we want to have another else statement. So else if. So if it's not accepted but completed. So let me go over and copy that part in here. Copy. Paste. Instead of accepted, it's going to be completed or complete. Then what we want to show instead of the quest description text active quest dot hint, we want to show the complete text, or congratulation in this case. And the quest summary is going to be the same as it is at the very top in this line in here. Let me just try to get everything here. So copy this complete line and pass this one over in here too. So yeah, that's it. Don't forget to save. Okay, so now we need to make sure that we are able to call showSelectQuest with our button ID. And that's what we're going to do next and see if we can, or if we are able to show that particular button quest when we're pressing on that button. So in our QButton script, we need to create some new functions, of course. I'm gonna go and get rid of start and update. I believe we don't need them at the moment. If we need them later, I will go and add them in once again. So what I want to do is I want to show all infos for that particular button. I've lost an S in here. So this needs to be a public function since we want to access this from an on-click event. It's of type void because we don't return anything. And I call this one just show show quest, show info, show all infos. I don't know. So every quest button can call this when it has it on its in its on-click event. So what we want to do is when we are clicking on that, we want to call the function we just created. And since we already have the quest ID inside that particular game object, we can easily use that. So what we do is we call, whoops, better redo that. So what we call is we call the quest UI manager dot UI manager dot show quest show select the quest. And what we pass over, we should pass over something. Yes, we need to pass over the quest ID. So we say in here it's going to be passed over the quest ID, which we already have, as I said, in here. So what I make sure is I save the Q button script and go into my quest button or Q button prefab. And in here we have our on-click event. I press on the plus. And what I need to drag in is the same button. So the prefab, which we are currently or directly in. Now we go to no function, select Q button script and choose show all infos, which we just created. Click. Don't forget to save the scene from time to time, which might be important here and there. So if there's any crashes and so on and so forth. So what we do is when this button is going to get created when we are talking with that guy here. As you can see now we have hello world, and when I now press on hello world, click, you can see it will automatically populate all the infos we need. So hello world, we have this first quest, just leave the town, and in here we have the summary which says leave town 1, 0 of 1. So this is our summary. And basically our easy hint, but we are not able to accept, give up or complete this quest. We also are not able to hide that with our close button in here, but we will do that in just a second too. So we can leave this alone. As you can see, it got automatically updated when we were just talking to that. And this is what our quest, oops, where is it? What we can just easily do with one line of code. The downside, or actually not downside, but we need to do some more into that show all info stuff, because we want to make the active, the accept button, the give up button, and the complete button in here. We want to show them or hide them depending on the state of that selected or particular quest. So we have several possibilities to do all of that stuff. There will be or might be some problems later on with losing the connections to the accept, the give up, and the complete button. Maybe I find a way to avoid all of that, but I don't know yet. We might go over and fix stuff like that later on. So what we need is we could do everything for the accept, the give up, and the complete, and of course also the close button. We can combine all that for small functions directly from that particular buttons, and we can combine that in the Q button script. The other way would be we could do that for everything on its own, but it wouldn't make sense. We would just need to pass over a lot of stuff and find the game objects everywhere and so on and so forth. But I believe it's easier that we are going to do everything in one script. There might be problems with that, and we might go over and change that stuff later on, as I said before. So let's get started. At first, we need the connection to the accept button, the give up button, and the complete button, and also their scripts, which they are going to use later on. They will need the quest ID later on anyway, so we don't have any double content or anything we just actually don't need. I could go over and make them public at the very beginning and drag them over, but the problem is when we're changing scenes, they will lose the connection because the prefab of whatever the button is cannot hold the data. because it's not a child or part of that particular data, because it's part of Quest user interface manager. Oh no. So what we do is we take we try to find the correct game object with the Q button or a script on it for every particular button. This might not be great, but it's currently the only way I can see, or what I am able to do at the moment. So maybe we go over and or I find another way for this. Okay, so it's going to be a private game object accept button. We also need another private game object, which is going to be our give up button. And the last one is going to be our complete button. So private game object complete button. Again, I'm not sure if this is working when we are using private ones and drag them in, but the problem is they are not prefabs. They are not getting instantiated. That might be another way we could do that. So we would instantiate them depending on when we are needing them, and we need to delete them when we don't need them. Or we just go and instantiate them and keep them in a list, and then we know what's going on or who is what, and we could use that as a connection to the buttons itself. You will see that when we are going over and change that. What we also need to do is we need to create the connections to our Q button scripts. Not sure if we can do the different in here too. So this is going to be our accept button script. Again, we go and use start to find the game objects depending on whatever we need. Q give up button script. And the last one is going to be private 2, which also of type Q button script, and it's going to be our complete button script. Okay, so basically all that infos or all that scripts are of the same type, and we can use them from anywhere we want. So in start, we try to find all that game objects, and I show you one way which or in where we are able to find them. So we need to use the start method in here. I believe we could go over and use awake, but we don't. No, we cannot use awake. We need to use start. So we start in here, and what we say is we want to find the accept button. So let's go over. I'm gonna show you what's going on. It's going to be, I don't know. What we need to do is we need to find child objects. This accept button, for example, let me go in 2D mode. This accept button is a child of UI Manager, for example. Also, it is child of Quest Canvas, and it's child of Quest Panel, and it's child of that particular game object, which our space holder is for that buttons with the horizontal layout group, and then we could access that button. Why is that so important? When we are going through all that child objects, we are able to enable and disable that accept button whenever we want. This is the only way I currently know to access deeply hidden game objects, because we need to hide and or enable and disable that buttons depending on what the state of the quest is, or the progress of the quest. Because if we have accepted the quest, we don't want the user to input I want to accept that again, because it is just not possible. So what we can do is we hide the accept button and only give him the give up button if it is an accepted quest, and give him only the complete button when he has only the way to complete it, when he has the progress complete on that quest. And when it's done, we just get rid of everything, and this quest will never ever be shown in the available or receivable quest list. And that's what what's the problem is. We can't just go in and disable any game object. because we need to know where it specifically is. I'm not sure if tags are working. I would go over later on and try that. But for now, just let me show you how you can deeply go into any game objects and child objects and find the correct one and can enable and disable this one whenever we need. Okay, so what we do is we need to find the game objects in all the other game objects. Okay, so at first we want to find a game object called quest canvas. So what we want to do is we want to find a game object, so game object dot find, and what we want to find is, don't forget it is all case sensitive, so make sure that you type everything 100% as we just have done it there. So what we want to find is the quest canvas. Make sure no typos, otherwise you will fail. Then we want to find the transform of that, and then we have the possibilities to find a child. What's the child of that particular quest canvas? The quest canvas has a child called quest panel. Let me just close this. There we go. Here's a quest panel. So that's a child we need to find at next. Since quest panel is going to be deactivated later on also, we need to make sure that we find that. So transform.file child, and it's going to be called quest panel. Again, make sure no typos. Then we want to find another transform. Dot find child, and this child, let's see how it's called after the quest panel. We're gonna close everything in here. Is quest description. This is the next one we need to aim for. So it's going to be quest description. There might be another way that we are going to take that panel and put that a bit up in the hierarchy, but I don't think that would change anything. I'm not sure, but maybe that's another way to fix that, or to actually get to that particular game object. So, and after that, we again want to find another transform dot find child, and the next child is, or has the name, which is our spacer in here, which holds our all our three buttons in that horizontal layout group, is called game object. Nothing fancy, but I just didn't rename that, so let's keep it as it is, game object. If you have renamed that, make sure that you know the name. Dot transform dot find child, so we need to find the child of that particular game object. And this is now our accept button. So again, in brackets, accept button. Oh, again, no typos. Make sure everything is 100% correctly written. And what we want to get is the game object. Since we need, or since we are requesting a game object at the very beginning, which is here. So at the very end of the line, dot game object. So now we have that accept button into our private game object and stored. When we are able to find that, we could also go over and debug that line. Doesn't really matter. And what we also need is, we need to find the script which is sitting on that accept button. Currently there's nothing on it, but that's not the problem. We can just easily get the component directly from the access button. So we say accept button script is going to be equal to accept button dot get component. So we get the component, the script component, directly from the button. It's of type QButtonScript, and that's it. So now we have both connections to the accept button and the accept button script, and we are able to disable and enable that particular button at any point. And that's what we want. This could end up, or this might end up in some confusions or anything else. I don't know. But I want to make sure that I can enable and disable them later on. If you have anything which is easy or making this stuff easier, don't forget to give me a hint for this. So the next one is going to be the give up button and the give up button script. So I just copy this part over. And at the very end, I just want to have the give up button. It's all the same stuff. It's deeply buried in here into our game object. Make sure no typos. And see if everything works. And as you can see, this is not going to be the accept button. We need to take the give up button in here. And then we're good to go. And we can copy this once again. No, we need to copy this one first. Copy, paste. And this is going to be for our complete button. So copy the name in here, copy the name in there, and the complete button script, copy and paste that over here. And at the very end, we need to change this to complete button. And that's where naming convention makes sense. If everything is called game object and game object 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you don't know where you want to go to and what you want to get. And that's what why I wanted to show you this way how you can access even inaccessible stuff like inactive game objects. This is the way you can do it, inactive game objects. Okay, and what we also want to do is we want to set them to be inactive. So only when we need them, then we want to set them active to be true. So accept button dot set active is going to be false in the very beginning. So we disable them. The same for the give up button. So give up button dot set active and square brackets false. And the last one is going to be our complete button dot set active to be false too. Don't forget to save. And now we can use that variables or that actives and inactives and so on and so forth, and yeah, make use of it. So we can show only whatever we need when we are clicking on show all infos. Again, there might be a small bug later on we need to fix, but I'm sure we will one day. Okay, so what we can do after we have showed our selected quest ID and we have pressed that button, we know what the quest ID is giving us back, including the quest manager is going to show us or the text elements for that particular quest, the description and the summary. But we also want to make sure that it is showing us the correct button in the very bottom. So what we can do is we can request that directly in the quest manager or in the quest user interface manager. I just choose the quest manager for this. So quest manager dot quest manager dot, and now we go over and request available quests. Yep. And what we want to pass over is, of course, the quest ID, which we just have in here. And when we are requesting that, then what we want to do is, when this is returning true, we want to say accept button.setActive is going to be true, because this is an acceptable quest or available quest. And what we also want to do is we want to pass over the particular ID to our accept button script. So accept button script dot quest ID is going to be equal to quest ID. And if this is not the case, so we get as return a false. Oops. So quest manager says no, there's no available quest for you. Then we want to say accept button dot set active is going to be false. So we disable that button because we are not able to accept anything. Okay, and we can do all the same for all the other buttons too. So this was our accept button in here. Now we have also our give up button Come on. Give up button, and we do the same. We request for our give up button only when we have an acceptable or accepted quest. So what we do is basically I go over and copy all of that. There was an if statement. So if quest manager dot request an accepted quest with a particular quest ID, then we say the give up button is going to be set active to be true, and the give up button script.quest ID is going to be quest ID. Make sense? I hope so. Also, if it's not the case, we want to say give up button set active to be false. Okay, copy this one once again, because we need the same stuff for our complete button. So what we want to request is if we have a complete quest, then we want to say show us the complete button, give our complete button script the quest ID, and say if it's not the case, the complete button dot set active to be false. Don't forget to save. Now we can use that function, or basically we already have all that infos in here. Again, there might be a small problem with that, but we will fix that later on, hopefully. So what we do is I go to my accept button in here. And since my accept button, give up button, and complete button don't have our quest button or queue button script, we go to our scripts folder, quests, and drag the queue button script inside. We do the same for the give up button and the complete button. And now I go over and apply the changes to the user interface manager. Yeah. So far so good. And now let's see, I'm not 100% sure if there is info. Okay. I will go over that and see why we have the problem in here. Okay, there's a small typo. As I said, I have a P in here, so I need to make sure that there is no typo in here, and let's test this one out once again. Okay, let's see if that was the case. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, all the three buttons are now disabled in our user interface manager in the game object. We were just setting them. When we are pressing that hello world button, click, you can see that it will fill all the data and it will show us the accept button. We cannot click that at the moment, but it will show us that thing, and that's cool. And that's what we want. We want only see that accept button when we are selecting available quests. We don't want to give it up or complete it. We want to do all of that stuff. Okay, don't forget to save everything once again. What we now want to create is all the functions for that three buttons, or actually four. The close button, it wants to close our complete panel in here when we are clicking on that. We want to accept quests when we are clicking on that, and when we close the panel also. We could also leave it open, it doesn't really matter. But it's, I believe, easier to, since we don't need to update everything when we are clicking on accept. If we want to leave the panel open when we are accepting that quest, then we need to go and do it a bit different, or basically need to update every list in here and go through every process and so on and so forth. But when we are going to, or when we are just want to keep this one open, when we are just closing that one, our hiding, our hide panel thing will automatically clear everything for us. So we can decide if we want to do that when we are that we update everything in here when we are clicking on accept. That means it would also go over and update it to be a resolvable quest, would fill in the lists new for us, need to go through everything, through every element, need to clear off everything in here, and so on and so forth. So that is depending on what we need and what we want. So the easiest one is going to hide the panel when we are selecting, or actually, yeah, when we are accepting a quest. I believe we could go over and show both ways. I don't know. Let's see. So what we need to do is, in our xButton script, we need to create 4 more functions, each for every button. So let's start with our accept button. It needs to be public since we want to access this from outside. That means directly from our let's see, from our on-click event directly on that accept button. So it's of type void since we don't return anything once again, and we just call this one accept quest. Okay, and we don't need to pass over any info because the infos are already directly here in our script, in our button. What we want to do is we want to call the quest manager. And the quest manager dot quest manager dot, and now we have our, as you can see directly in here, our accept quest function. So we can use that. We already written that one, and we will need to pass over the ID of the quest we are just whatever quest we want to set to accept. As you may remember, the quest manager within that function, let's see where it is, complete a quest, give up a quest, accept a quest, goes through the whole quest list and sets the progress from, if it is available, from there to the accepted quest, and also makes a copy into the current quest list. That's everything we need to do with the quest manager, or basically what the user interface, the quest button is going to do. We click on that, and it says, hey, quest manager, I want to be not just available, I want to be accepted. Okay, and that's what we do when we are clicking on that button. Also, now we can do 2 ways, as I said before. The first thing is we can go and clear the whole screen and update the whole quest screen and leave it open. The other way would be, I'm gonna show you this one pretty quick at first, I believe, is we can call the quest user interface manager dot UI manager dot, and what we can now do is we can hide the quest panel. And we don't need to do anything else, because when we are, don't forget to save, when we are going to hide the panel, let's see where it is, fill in, hide panel. What we do is we set everything, or reset every component. We reset all the text elements. We clear off every list. We clear or destroy every buttons we don't need. Clear the button list and set the panel to be inactive. The same thing could be applied completely in the accept quest when we want to pass over or update the whole part in here. But when we would like to update, we would need to clear off everything, but leave the panel active. And then we would go over and need to fill in all quest buttons once again. So we would go through everything once again and populate everything depending on what we currently have. I hope you understand that. So maybe we could just copy over some code in here and test this one out however we want to. The first thing is I want to test if I can hide the panel, accept the quest, and when I talk to that guy once again to show me the correct stuff. Okay, so let's get started. I press start in here. And let's test this one out. So I go to that guy over here, talk to him, click on Hello World. He says, hey, you can accept that quest. I click on it, but nothing happens. And why is that so? Because I forgot to add the on-click event. So I click on the small plus, and what we want to do is we want to drag in the accept button, because the accept button has the correct script. Then we call QButton script accept quest. Don't forget to apply the changes to the prefab. And test again. Go over to that guy, talk to him, press that, click on accept, and the button is hiding. Also in our quest manager, you can see that our current quest list holds our currently accepted quest, and boss states automatically have been updated. When I now would go out, you would see that I am completing that quest because we have written that already. When we're going back, you can see, hey, cool, that guy has an exclamation mark on its own. When I now talk to him, he has that in the receivable quest, when I can click on it, but what I don't have is that complete button is not shown correctly. And we need to update it, I believe. Otherwise we need to click several times on that button, so somehow there is, I don't know, whatever in. But we could also go and complete that quest when the button is working. Yeah. So what we do is, when we are accepting the quest, we have everything like that. And what we can also do is, when we are at that point that we are accepting a quest, we also want to update all other NPCs in the scene. And that's the next step. Update all NPCs or quest givers. You can call that whatever you want. So what we need to do is we create a small quest object, or of type quest object array, and we call this, I don't know, current quest guys. I don't know, current quest guys. And this quest guys, or current NPCs maybe, I don't know. This is just, oh no, not this. This is just our reference. Call it whatever you want. So what we want to find is all objects of type. And in brackets we type in type of. So we're looking for a specific type, and in here we want to know the quest object type. And what we also want to say is we need to typecast this one as a quest object array. Otherwise we would get, I don't know, weird errors. So when we have the reference to all our quest objects in our current scene, we can go through them or iterate through them with an easy for each loop, and can set all their markers depending on the quest, the state they currently have. We already written all of that stuff, and what we can do in here is we can say, for each quest object, I just call this one obj or qobj, it doesn't really matter, in, and now we take the current quest guys. So we iterate through all the current quest guys, and what we want to do is we want to set the obj dot, we don't have that function yet, we need to create that, set quest marker. Yeah, we want to set the quest marker depending on what the guy currently is on. So he will update automatically all the quest markers. And we could do the same later on, and we will do the same later on. Yeah, with the complete and the give up one. So we call this function, I just copied this one over, give up quest. So this one will be on the on-click event for the give up button. It's going to be a give up quest in here, and everything else will be the same. Gonna copy this one over once again, and we have our complete quest, and in here we say complete quest. And we do all the same in here too. Again, we need to create the set marker functions later on. So, and of course I have the fourth function, which is also being public, and this is for our close panel. So when we are closing the panel, whoops, we want to do basically the same. Usually we don't need to iterate through all the quest object guys, since we only just closing that particular panel. So what we do is we say quest UI manager dot UI manager dot hide quest panel. We want to hide all of that stuff once again, and that should be it for the moment. So don't forget to save. And now we can pass over all that scripts in here. I'm gonna take the complete button in here and I drag in the Q button script here too. I don't need to do anything in that, but I need to create an on-click event which sits directly on the close button in the Q button script close quest. No, not complete quest, sorry. Close panel. Don't forget to apply the changes to the prefab. In the accept button we already did that. In the give up button we create a new on click event, drag in give up button, take the Q button script and select give up quest, apply the changes to the prefab, go to the complete button, create a new on click event, drag in the complete button, choose the function Q button script complete quest, apply the changes, time to test. So now, again, we have the exclamation mark, we talk to that guy, we can accept the quest, but as you can see, the marker is not updated, but when we talk to that guy once again, he has that thing in here, but we need to click on Hello World 2 times before we can actually select the give up one. I don't know where that bug comes from, and I can click on give up. And what I have now is I have that Hello World quest once again in to be accepted. So I can do that the whole time. As you can see, now everything works. Also for our close button, we click on that and we just close the quest panel, nothing else. We go outside, we go inside, and as you can see, when we are close to that guy, we are able to complete that quest. Click. Again, the marker is not automatically updated. It would be only updated when we are leaving and entering the town once again. So we would get no quest available from this guy. But we want to update the marker directly when we are done with our quest, or when we have accepted that. Then we want to see that there's a gray marker or whatever we just wanted. So we go over and save the scene pretty quick at first. And we go over and create the quest marker function in our game or quest object. What I just saw is that we already have created the set quest marker one, but we didn't make the function itself public, so we don't have access to it from outside. So we need to set this one to public. Go back to our Q button script, and now we can say in that for each loop, we should be able to do so, that we say obj, which is of type quest object, as you can see in that array. So obj dot set quest marker. Don't forget to save. I'm gonna copy this part in here and also pass this one into the give up quest. Not just complete quest, also give up quest and the accept quest function. Copy that one over, save the quest. And now let's test again. So we go to that guy, talk to him, say hello world, say accept. And now you can see the quest marker has automatically been changed to a gray exclamation mark. When we are going out and in, it will be automatically a yellow exclamation question mark, sorry. But when I go and complete that quest, it will be automatically updated to be nothing available in here anymore, no matter how often I go in and out and leave the town and so on. Okay, pretty cool. So this is working too. So we can take and use quests depending on that, and also other quest guys when we are placing another guy in here and giving him some other quest IDs. Yeah, he would be automatically updated too, just because he is in the same scene. For other scenes it doesn't matter because they will work at start anyways. Okay, so the small bug, as you may have seen, is we need to type 2 times or click 2 times on the on the receivable button, and here otherwise the complete button is not going to be shown. I'm not 100% sure how to fix that, but I will look into that and maybe we can actually fix that. The only thing we just don't have at the moment is our quest log panel, and once we have done that, we basically have everything completed. So in our user interface manager, I go over and close the Q button script for now. Maybe there's a bug in between that. I don't know why this is. Oh yeah, that's just sayers. We don't have any quest log panel thingy active in here, so we don't or didn't use that as we see here. And what we also don't want as quest panel active, we want to use quest log panel active. Gonna copy this one over, and with the Q button we want to switch quest log panel active. Don't forget to change that. And we want to create a show log quest log panel and a hide quest log panel, and then we are done with our complete quest system. So let's create that pretty quick. Let's see where we are hiding panel. Here we are hiding panel, hide quest panel. So directly under that we just say hide. Let's show this first. Let's go down here. Show quest on button press in the panel. Yeah, I try to organize that a bit. So we have a show panel in here. So yeah, let's do show panel directly in here. Public void show quest log panel. I don't know. So to see all the data from running quests, the quest log only shows running quests for me. If you want to have some subtabs or whatever you want, then you are free to enable or increment them. I don't actually need that. So what we want to do is we want to set the quest log title to be the active quest title. So that means we need to pass over the quest into the quest into the show quest log panel. And quest is going to be our active quest. It's just a variable once again. So quest log title dot text is going to be equal to the active quest dot title. Oops. Okay, so what we need to do is now we need to see if what the progress of that particular quest is. So if active quest dot progress is going to be equal to quest dot quest progress dot accepted. So if we have an accepted quest, then we want to say quest log description. Whoops. Quest log description dot text is going to be equal to as the active quest dot hint. And our quest log summary again is going to be a very long one. So quest log summary dot text is going to be equal to active quest dot quest objective, and then we can say again plus, then colon maybe, like we did in the quest log in the normal quest panel, plus, and then we can say again the active quest dot, whoops, not dot congratulation. We want to have dot quest objective count plus, and then again a slash, and again another plus, active quest dot quest requirement, I believe it is, quest objective requirement, and that's it. Oops. So we want to see that in our quest log summary, and of course we see the quest log title when we are showing the quest log panel. And what we also want to do is we want to have an else if statement. So if this is not the accepted part, but it is going to be, let me copy this one over, and this is going to be the complete one, then let me just copy that 2 lines too. Copy, paste. I want to have the quest log description to be not showing the hint, but the congratulation, and the summary is going to be the same, so nothing we need to do at that point. So this is going to be for our running quest, but we also need to make sure that we are showing that quest log panel. So we want to show the quest log panel. We also need to make the panel active and inactive. This is just the quest log. So this is not showing the panel, but the info from a specific already taken, accepted, or actually completed quest. And this is, again, I comment this one out. This is just showing the log for the button, but for the panel itself, we need to create another public function for this. And this is going to be our, show quest log panel. Let me just put this here. It's going to be of type void. Since we don't return anything, we don't need that semicolon. And this function will just say quest log panel dot set active to be true. So we enable this one when we are calling this function. And then what we want to do is we want to check at first if the quest log panel active, but not quest panel active. And I can take this one in here. So if the quest log panel is going to be active, because we set it this one to be active and we are not talking to an NPC at the moment, so the quest panel is not active at that particular point, we want to iterate through everything. We can use another for each loop in here. So what we can iterate through is of type quests is going to be our car quests. And what we want to check is in the quest manager dot quest manager dot current quest list. So we iterate through the complete current quest list directly inside the quest manager, and we see what is active. So it doesn't matter which is the NPC we are calling, or actually calling all that stuff. And what we want to do is we want to instantiate game objects for this, as we did for the other thing. This is going to be another quest button, and we instantiate a queue log button. Let's see, we have that already in here. We need to create that in just a second too. So I believe we don't have a queue log script. Nope, we don't have that. So let's create that pretty quick. In our scripts folder for the quest, we create a new one, create C# queue log script. No, queue log button. Queue log button script. Which basically shouldn't have more than the other things, or than the other buttons. Basically just an ID and a text element. So we need to create a prefab for this one too. What we can do is we go and duplicate our the other button in here. Gonna duplicate that by Control D. So select this, Control D, and it will be automatically Q button 1. I'm gonna go over and rename that to Q log button. If it's not taking the name in here, gonna copy that, select the Q button 1, and pass over the name inside of that too. Now we get rid of the Q button script in here. We go over and remove the component. Now we drag in our Q button script, Q log button script, sorry, like this. Now we can fill in data, and in Q button script, in Q log button script, I mean. Let's rebuild that and reopen all of that. Q log button script. We of course need again an ID, so public int quest ID. I'm not sure if we need a title. Yes, we need a title. So we need to make sure that we are again using Unity engine.ui, since we need to access a text element. So public of type text, and this is going to be the quest title. Don't forget to save. We later on need to of course create an on-click event for this one too, like we have done like here, show all infos. So basically we could do the same. We could take the show all infos thingy in here, but we don't use the give up button and all the other things, so it's should be rather smaller than the Q button script. We can get rid of start and update. And what we can pass over in here is we create small functions too. The first one is for closing the battle, the other one for showing all the infos. So we say public void show all infos again. So quest UI manager dot UI manager dot, and now we have the show quest log. And what we can pass in is the active quest ID or quest, which we just created, and we pass over just a quest ID, I believe. Why is it of type quest? We need to change that. We need to pass over quest ID. Since it's of type int and not of type quest, we need to change that in just a second. And the close panel one is going to be public void, void close panel. We don't need to pass anything inside, but we need to call the quest user interface manager once again. So quest UI manager dot UI manager, and here we need to have another hide option or another hide function. So hide quest log panel. I just typed this one. This is nothing we have already. Hide quest log panel, yeah, and we will write that in just a second. Don't forget to save. Again, this is going to be wrong, so we need to go to the quest log and the quest user interface manager, show quest log panel. Oh, and here this is not going to be of type quest. This should be of type int, I believe. No, but that's not working. Give me a second. I will see where my problem is in here. Okay, I found the problem. I did that directly in the quest manager, not in the quest user interface manager. So quest manager dot, and here I would have a show quest log function, which is basically iterating through the whole quest manager once again. So we go open up quest manager once again, and let's see where we can place that. Remove items, add items, check items. There's some check chain quest, maybe somewhere in between. Accept quest, check request, or at the very top, very bottom maybe. So what I want to do is I want to show the quests, or the infos from the quest log, or the quest log from here. So what we want to do is, or I want to do is, I create a new public function, of course, so I can access that from the button. Say show quest log. It's gonna be a bit confusing, I know. I hope you still understand that. It's going to be of type int, and it requests quest ID. And what we want to do is we iterate through the current active quest list. We could also do that directly on the button. So what we say is for int I, it's going to be equal to 0, while I is smaller than the current quest list dot count. Then we want to increment I. That's pretty small. It's a pretty small function in here. And what we want to get back is basically if the current quest list in square brackets I dot ID is going to be the same. So like the quest ID. Quest ID, we are just going and getting back. Then we want to update the quest manager, so we say quest the quest interface manager, so quest UI manager dot UI manager dot, and now we go and say show quest log, and then we take back show quest log, and in brackets, of course, since this is going to request our quest object, as you can see, is a quest itself. And what we do is we say current quest list and square brackets I. So we pass that directly into the show quest log function and update it. Okay, and that's pretty much it for that. And in the qlog button script, we just call that function now, show quest log, and we pass in the quest ID we currently have, quest ID. So we get back, for the user interface manager, we get back the quest itself and get it passed into the current quest list. Okay, so and that's it for that. Now we need to hide the quest log panel, which we gonna do in the user interface manager, of course. So somewhere we have the hide quest panel. Under that we go and hide the quest log panel, and that's pretty much the same as we have done before with the normal hide quest panel, but a bit less, not too much in this case. So what we do is we create a new public void hide quest log panel function. So at first, of course, we want to set quest log active, or quest log panel active is going to be equal to false. And then we update all the infos, like quest log title dot text. It's going to be equal to just empty string. The quest log description is going to be equal to an empty string too. The quest log summary dot text. Oh, I believe, yeah, I forgot that in the very bottom too. So the quest log description dot text too, since it cannot hold or combine text and string in this case. Now we want again clear the button list. Which means we need to iterate through all the queue buttons like we have done before. For int I is going to be equal to 0, while I is smaller than the quest. What do we have here? The queue buttons list, this one, dot count. We increment I again. Then we say we want to destroy all that game objects, which are queue buttons in square brackets I, as we did in the quest log, in the quest panel in here. We do the same, we clear off that too. Then we say queue buttons dot clear, and of course we set the quest log panel, which is this one, dot set active to be the quest log panel active, or false. It doesn't matter, because it will be false at that point anyways. Okay, that's it. Don't forget to save. I believe we need to create all that panel. All that buttons. We need to finish that one too. So in our show quest log panel, now we have the queue log button script. We can now access that. So we can say queue log button script. We call this one just queue button. We set this one to quest button dot, and now we want to get the component once again out of it, and of type queue log button script. What we now want to do is we want to set queue button dot, and now we have the ID once again. The quest ID is going to be equal to the request dot ID. We want to set the title, so queue button dot title. Our quest title is going to be equal to the current quest dot title, but I believe we need to say dot text. Yes, it's dot text in here. And then we want to set the parent, so quest button dot transform dot set parent, and the parent in this case is going to be our queue log button spacer. And of course we say again a false. We want this to be in local space, and we want to add this button to the queue buttons list. So queue buttons dot add, and what do we want to add is the quest button. The name basically doesn't matter. If you be confused since we are using that again, it doesn't really matter how we call that. We just need a reference to this. And what we also want to do is if it's not the case, so else if we have not the quest log panel active, and also not the quest log. How did we call that? Quest panel active. So if both are inactive, then we just say hide quest log panel. Don't forget to save. And now let's see if we have any errors or problems. Looks good. And let's see if we get that. So if I press Q, then this quest panel is going to be opened. When I press Q again, it will be switched. I can also use later on that button. I will implement that in just a second. And when I now go to that guy and take that quest, I accept that and press Q now. There's no reference. Oh, because we didn't actually added the QLog button into our user interface manager. So we go into our prefabs folder, quests, and take the QLog button and pass this one over into that. Apply the changes to the prefab. That's important again. And as you can see, we don't have that on-click event for this QLog button, so we can drag this one in here already. And let's see if we have show all infos. There we go. And when we are clicking on that button, we should also see that. And we need the reference to the text element in here. So we open this one up and drag the text element directly in that spot over there too. So now everything should be fine. So we go to that guy again with the Q button. We can open, close that. We can click and accept the quest. When we are pressing Q, you can see we have that active quest directly read it from the quest manager. When we click on it, you can see it, and you can also see the summary. But we are not able to accept or do anything with that. We can just see the hint and the current state. And on the close button, we want to close that, of course. So I go into the close panel in here, or a quest log panel. You can set that active or inactive, however you please. And the close button itself needs, of course, our script for the quest log. So quest Q log button script. And we pass over the close button again itself. Go take the Q log button script and say close panel. Apply the changes to the prefab. We don't need ID or anything in this case, or any text stuff. So when I press here and now click on that, it also will close the panel. Doing the same. And that's pretty much it for our quest system. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb this video up if you like it, and feel free to become my patron or donate by using PayPal to support me and my channel in the future. All links will be below in the description. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.